Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Metaphysical Interpretation of the Bible class. It is Monday, May 13th, 2019 in time and space in Asheville, North Carolina. Those of you taking this class online, it is wherever you are and whenever it is. It is always here and always now. We always begin everything with spiritual mind treatment, so I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let it go. And continue to breathe so that you don't pass out. And what I know is that there is one power, one presence in the universe. It is spirit, it is the divine, it is God. It is all that is. And whenever that oneness chose to create, in the beginning God created. In the beginning was the Word. Whenever that oneness chose to create, the only thing it could create out of was itself. And so whatever that energy is, it became that which it created. And so I know for each and every one of us that we are made in the image and likeness of God because we are made out of God's stuff. We are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual law. And I know that as we come together in this class, we have a wonderful time. We learn a lot of great information, we use it to make our lives better, and we have a lot of fun in the meantime. And so with great gratitude and thanksgiving for yet another fabulous Center for Spiritual Living Asheville class, I simply release this treatment into all that God is, knowing that God is all, as together we say, and so it is. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Welcome, Karen.
Megan.
Megan?
I said I made it.
Oh, I made it. Am I blind? Is that Karen? Yes, you did. You made it. Wonderful, wonderful. So welcome. This class is called Metaphysical Interpretation of the Bible. Is anyone cold? No. Is it chilly? No. Okay, so Miriam, you are right under a vent. So you're in the coldest spot in the room. Okay, okay. This class, Carol, this class is going to be a lot of fun. Is that Lonnie under that hat? Great, great, great. This is going to be a lot of fun. I am committed to it being fun. So some of the rules are, there is no book, there is no homework, and there's going to be ample opportunity for discussion. We're going to use some basic keys to unlock these scriptures of the Bible. And we can, make them mean whatever it is we want them to mean. If we can't read something and internalize value and meaning from it, then what good is that? Then we're just thinking the thoughts that someone else has told us to think, to do the acts of living the way that someone else thinks we should live. And we don't do that here. We know we are all individual points of God consciousness, and as that, we have everything that we need to live our perfect life. So we're going to play with this stuff. There's nobody's right and nobody's wrong. And if you have any more information, like if we have any astrology people or numerology people or anyone that's got more information than I do, I am not controlling what you learn here. This is going to be a group experience, so please feel free to volunteer that. I'm going to have some key, big stories that people pretty much know and we can play with. I've got a couple of side stories that I particularly like in the Bible. But if you've got something that you want us to discuss, then either bring it up the week before so that I can make some handouts or get the story straight for everyone, or bring it up in class if we have time and say, this is the thing that I want to talk about, but let me tell you, you're going to be put on the spot to explain to the class what the story is so that we can then pick it apart and interpret it and see what it may mean. Any questions about that?
Nope.
Come on in, Jane.
Thanks.
So the Bible is written in 3 different languages. Who was not here yesterday? Okay, I went over this yesterday, but I'll go over it briefly again and bring you up to speed. The Bible is written at a historical level. When people read the Bible, they want to know if the archaeological dig validates the time frame. Some people have taken it upon themselves to go to war with all things scientific, to have loyalty to the 6 days of creation concept, and people want to see it historically. That's, for me, an irrelevant way to look at it. I don't care. I don't care if Jesus actually walked the earth 2,000 years ago. I care if there's some information here that I can use or we can use to have our lives be better. There's also the mental way of looking at it, a philosophical discussion, or looking at it mentally, wanting to understand all of these things. I'm not really that into that either. I just don't care about wanting to understand it on a philosophical level. I want us to go to the third level, which is the spiritual level. I want us to be able to look at these ideas and see how they affect us in our lives. See how we can use some of these teachings, not to browbeat ourselves or put ourselves down or try to make us fit in somebody else's box, but to look and see what ageless, timeless truths there are in these teachings, and then how can we bring those into our own lives and demonstrate health and joy and success and happiness of all kinds. Do you remember when Jesus said, after some of the conversations with his disciples, excuse me, for them that have ears to hear, or eyes to see? What that is referring to is the fact that in the Eastern mindset, things were spoken about at different levels. And so there would be the outer meaning, which was the general meaning of face value of these stories. But then there was an inner meaning. There's an exoteric, or an outer meaning, and then there's an esoteric, or an inner meaning of all of the stories in the Bible. And so what we want to do is we want to look at that and say, well, this is the face value, but this is the deeper value, the deeper meaning. And remember, the Bible was written in the Mideast, and that is a different mindset than we have here. So we're going to look at all of the metaphor, which is saying one thing but meaning another, without the wink wink. You know, every time you do a wink wink, that's a metaphor. Or the allegory, which is a longer metaphor. It's a story. The Garden of Eden is an allegory because it kind of goes on and on and on. It's not a quick thing. Or the parables. The parables were used to tell a story about one thing but to mean another. And so all of these different ways of teaching have an outer meaning and an inner meaning. And keep in mind that the Eastern consciousness was to tell stories to teach people, but not necessarily stories that meant exactly what they said. And that these stories have been told for thousands and thousands of years. These are the cultural mores. These are the teaching methods of a society to say, this is a good thing to do, and this, not so much. To be able to bring people into this consciousness that says this is the way we want to live. All the time, what we are doing when we put our metaphysical interpretation detective hats on, which you will wear quite often, is to look at the deeper meaning, the inner meaning. Now, you may have an inner meaning that's different from someone else's inner meaning. Is anybody wrong?
No.
No, we get to make it mean what we want it to mean. And if I want to say, Jesus walked on water, that means I can walk on fire, that's my business. And then someone says, well, I don't see you walking on water. I don't care what you see. This is what I take it to mean inside of myself. And I have every right to take value and inspiration from anything that I want. And it's uniquely mine. So you have every right to take value and inspiration from anything that you want. And it's uniquely yours. Keep that in mind if you go home and say, oh, such and such means something, and such means something, and that means this, and someone says, no, it doesn't. So just understand that not everyone has taken the class with you. And you may look at something and go, well, I don't think it means that. For me, it means this. And so whatever it is that you come up with, if it has value to you, then that's what's important. Jim.
Is that true for these categories as well?
Sure.
So that a mountain, I mean, is this your definition of mountain being high?
Well, I agree with that definition.
Okay.
That in my experience, when I'm feeling exalted, when I'm going up on the mountaintop, then I'm at a high state of consciousness. And when I'm in the pits, down low, then I'm in a low state of consciousness. So I agree with those, but these are actual translations of the Hebrew words. The Jah, J, Jo, Jah, that all means Jehovah. So when you start a word with that, it means Jehovah or God, God something. That's just the way the word literally translates.
And east, west, east within, west without, those are common.
They're common, but you don't have to take those. You can do it any way you want. I'm just going to turn the air a little. So rather than walk off camera, would someone just push the plus button up about 3 times on that thermostat? So it's not so cold. It's going to get in the 40s tonight. Yeah. Holy moly.
I am walking on.
I know, I'm excited.
You just have to wear your jacket.
So the important thing about all of these stories that we're going to look at is that they are all stories about us. And they are all stories about the evolution of consciousness within us. And typically they start off with the Garden of Eden, and we talked about that yesterday, and how people fell from grace. And then the whole rest of the Bible is people trying to grow back into that state of bliss, that state of high consciousness that was the Garden of Eden. But whatever story we pick, it's going to have an evolution of consciousness. And you can see that one, Jacob starts off, and we'll go through all these in depth. I'm just throwing you little tidbits. Jacob starts off and then wrestles with the angel, and when he defeats the angel in his dreams and consciousness, he wrestles with that. He says, I won't let you go until you bless me. And he gets the blessing. His name is changed to Israel. So that's an evolution of consciousness. That his name goes from Jacob, which I think means the supplanter, and turns it into Israel, which is the Christ consciousness, the enlightened one. Because he was willing to wrestle with that aspect of himself until he got the blessing that he knew he deserved. And he wouldn't stop and he wouldn't let go. So once he has achieved a state of growth, then the name changes. In Abraham and Sarah, Sarah starts off as Sarai, S-A-R-I, not S-O-R-R-Y. And after she is pregnant with Isaac, then her name changes to Sarah. And Abraham starts off as Abram. And after a change of consciousness, he turns into Abraham. And so there is this evolution of consciousness in everything in the Bible. And when you look at that, then things don't look like there's some awful thing happening to somebody just because there's an outside angry God who likes to screw with people on planet Earth. That's not what's happening. Everything is happening within us. We are all wrestling with our own angels. We are all traveling through the desert. We are all climbing the mountaintop. We are all doing all of those things as we grow and evolve spiritually. So it's all our story, just us. This whole class is going to be about you. Doesn't matter what's happening to the person next to you. It's all about you. Places in the Bible are thoughts. They're either thoughts or states of consciousness. So when the Hebrews went to Egypt as slaves, they went into a consciousness of bondage, even though the Egyptians have no record of that. I thought that was fascinating. I don't know if that's true or not. I may say a lot of things about the Bible that I have no really real way to validate, but I think it's fascinating that if we take a book that has been so indoctrinated into so many people in our culture and say, maybe this is true and maybe it's not. Maybe this is valid and maybe it's not. I'm going to find out for myself. Then we have taken power back from outside sources and brought it back into inside sources. So it doesn't matter if Egypt has any records of the Hebrews being slaves for, what was it, 700 years? That would make sense, because 7 is the number of perfect completion. What matters is, to what state of consciousness of bondage do we enslave ourselves? And how long are we going to be there? We're going to be there a perfect completion. It's just up to us when that completion comes and what we're willing to do to get out of bondage. So we have places in the Bible are states of consciousness. And when someone moves from one place to another, you immediately know that they are changing in consciousness. Hopefully, they're growing in consciousness, but not always. Sometimes they're going down in consciousness, and then they've got to work themselves out to get out of that and to have their lives work. Many, many things in these stories are thoughts. So where we have these states, these places of where we are in consciousness, we also have things that are thoughts. People in the Bible are thoughts. That's why it's important to start understanding what their name means, what their nature means, so that those thoughts are easier to identify. Christ is what kind of a thought? Supreme consciousness, cosmic consciousness, enlightenment, anything like that. When we have children, the children are thoughts of what? They're thoughts of the parent. They're not necessarily innocence or love. They're thoughts of the parent. So if you have a story about the parents, and then in comes a sub-story about the kids are thoughts that came from the parents. We're not dealing with real people here. These are metaphors, allegories, parables, wink, wink, telling a story about one thing that really means something else. So when you've got children of key characters in the story, they are thoughts of that. When you have water, and this is in alignment with Carl Jung, that water symbolizes the subconscious mind. So, interestingly, the metaphysical interpretation of Bible stories also has water symbolizing mind. The ocean symbolizes subconscious mind. A river would symbolize what?
Changing consciousness.
Changing consciousness, moving consciousness, flowing consciousness. A well might symbolize what? Deep consciousness, or consciousness that could be brought up, right? Because the water rarely stays in the well. There's usually a woman at the well cranking the well wheel, pulling the water up, pulling up that movement of mind. So it's the woman is feminine aspect. Not real gender people, just aspects of us, each one of us. So it's my feminine aspect that goes to the available consciousness to bring it up to the surface so that I can what?
Drink it in.
So that I can take it in so I can have a drink. It's not that complicated. We're not going to get really, really crazy here. So that I can have a drink, so that I can embody and take into myself that subconscious mind, that consciousness, to bring it up and to be able to embody it and take it into my life. And then I am refreshed and I feel better, which means that probably the land that I'm standing on should have gone up a little bit higher. So we're going to play with a lot of these things. The name always means the nature. So the nature of. So So whatever the name is, like if it's the name of a place, it's a state of consciousness of that place. It's the nature of the place.
I thought you had just said that the name was the thoughts.
People are thoughts.
People are thoughts. The name of the person is the nature of the thought. So I'm doing really positive thoughts right now. Well, if I was a Bible story and we were interpreting it, I, as the parent, would have a little Barbara that is my thought, and we would name her positive. Because I'm having positive thoughts. And then I would tell a story. Well, there was a woman named Barbara in Asheville, North Carolina in 2019, and she had a little Barbara named Positive. And people would go, okay, let me get this straight. It's 2019, and where was that? And these are the details. And then they would go, this is the Word of God. That Barbara had a little Barbara named him Positive, and we've all got to have little Barbaras and name them Positive so that we can go to heaven. And that's exactly how it works. David.
Byron, what's Father? Father, A.D., what's it, what is it referring to?
It's spirit. You know, Jesus took the God of Moses, or the God of Abraham, who was the vengeful arrows and lightning bolts and, you know, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, or whatever all that was, and turned it into Abba, A-B-B-A. And A-B means Father, and Jesus, when he prayed to Abba, or he talked about Abba, and he also said the Father within. So it was a very gentle, loving, connecting type of a relationship, which up until then was unheard of. You better get your sacrifices together and get your money and go to the temple and you know, pay your dues and burn the fatted calf, or you could burn in hell forever. Interesting, because hell was actually the garbage dumps outside of Jerusalem. Think about it. Tell someone to go to hell, go out to the garbage dumps. It stinks. Karen.
One thing that I would say, if you've ever studied the Christian religion, that would be what was called the New Covenant. When
Jesus and Abba.
Yes. Yes, the New Covenant.
We would say it was Jesus ushering in the Piscean Age.
Exactly.
So, we've got Elijah, Elisha. What other Eli's? Eli's come and guard your heart and mind. Pardon me?
Elihu? No.
No, not English names, Bible names.
Oh, Bible name?
When we get into some of these other stories, we'll start really learning these names. For this, I'm just giving you some ideas so that we can begin to actually interpret some things tonight. Bill.
I just wanted to say that the concept of hell in Judaism is to be without God. Sheol means without God. If you have God in your life, you're not in hell. If you have no God in your life, you're there.
Right.
Nothing further need be done.
We have had two different popes in the last 20 years. Pope John Paul and Pope Francis both say heaven and hell are states of consciousness.
Right,
They are not a place where you go.
Thank goodness.
Really? Really? Because the whole psychology of an outside, anthropomorphic, all-powerful deity that is pitted against humankind is sick. It's sick. And the fact that at any moment we could be being tested, and if we fail that test, then we have all of eternity to pay, is sick. And so this whole idea that I was just surprised that the whole world didn't stop spinning for at least a moment while Catholics everywhere questioned everything. The very fact that we've had 2 popes say that, heaven and hell are states of consciousness, not places that you go, I thought was huge. And for me, it's a sign of the evolution of consciousness of people on planet Earth, that we are not so locked in to that fear, that limbic brain, that fight or flight response of worrying about an all-powerful anthropomorphic deity that is everywhere present, that's always watching you, even under the covers, to see what it is you're doing or not doing, and will punish you. And that's psychologically, that's crazy-making stuff, which may be why we've all had a bit of a crazy culture for a while. Going back to the Puritans, they were not great. Really, they were as pure as they thought they were. Well, if you weren't pure like them, boy, you just got killed.
Well, you know, Santa Claus is watching you too all the time to make sure you're being good too.
Really. So, in the Bible, you have very standard stories. You've got people going into the wilderness. You've got the Hebrews wandering for 40 years in the wilderness. What do you think that might mean, given that wilderness is not on here? What does wilderness mean to you?
Numbers.
Yeah, I'm not talking about 40, but what does 40 mean?
Indefinite.
Some kind of time frame, could be a minute, could be a million years, some kind of time frame that completed. And again, it's totally up to you when you complete on your wilderness journey. That's why I keep telling people, if you're walking through the valley of the shadow of death, don't build a condo. Don't stop unless you have to, just to take the briefest of rests.
Well, wilderness might actually be journey.
No, what does wilderness mean?
Barren.
Unknown, what? What else? Barren, what else? No, because it's not oblivion, it is a place. Oblivion is nothing.
Confusion?
Could be confusion, could be lost.
Lost.
Yeah, no roads,
No roads,
no maps.
no map, Sophia.
Literally means to cause someone to lose their way.
You're a scholar. Wilder means to cause one to lose their way. So when you're in the wilderness, you're lost, baby. There's no roads. It doesn't have McDonald's on the corners. It doesn't have, hotels and pools and places for you to refresh yourself. If you've ever been in the wilderness, inside of the consciousness, a state of consciousness called wilderness, if you've ever been in that, then you are not a happy camper. You're not being refreshed. You're not being nourished. You're not being taken care of. For that matter, probably the longer you're in the wilderness, the worse it is.
Yes.
Just you get tireder and tireder, and things get harder and harder and harder until finally you find a way out of the wilderness. So Jesus went into the wilderness for 40 days. Again, 40 is what? It's a who knows how long, but he got done with it. Period of time. Well, really, I mean, people say, well, I'm going to go fast for 40 days and 40 nights because Jesus did that. That's not really what it was meaning. It meant to fast. What would that mean? To stop partaking of what?
Nourishment.
A certain kind of nourishment. Now, do you think Jesus was fasting from all the good things in life? You go, Jesus. Jesus, you got this. You rock, boy. No, he was fasting from what?
Negativity.
Negativity. Wasn't it right before he went out there that the temptation came to, again, poor snakes. The snake came and he said, get thee behind me, Satan. And then he spent 40 days to try to get that out of his head. Or he spent an indefinite but complete period of time until he was clear. And then when he was clear, he could come back out of the wilderness. We always can come back out of the wilderness anytime we want. It's totally up to us. So if you get up in the morning and you go, oh, this has been a real crummy week. Wait a minute. I've been 40 years, 40 days, whatever it is. My 40 is done. I choose today to be number 41. So I am over my indefinite but complete period of time of wandering in the wilderness, and I'm off to the promised land. Milk and honey, great hoopla, lots of fun. You can do that simply by making up your mind to do that. And when you read stories in the Bible or hear them, it's important not to fall into that kind of consciousness that says things can come out of the blue and knock me flat. I didn't have anything to do with it. There's some outside power that is just taking it out on me, and I don't have what I need. I don't have what it takes to be able to pull this enlightenment thing off. No, that's not what they were written for, although they have been preached that for a long, long time. So don't let anybody con you into thinking that there is any outside power that is out to do you wrong. Remember, you got 2 popes already. Who knows what the third one will do? He might go around and say, God's inside of you, God's inside of you, God's inside of you, God's inside of you. I actually heard Joel Osteen say that the other day. He said that Jesus came to teach us that God is an inside God. And I thought, he also taught Joel Osteen, that huge megachurch guy that is teaching science of mind without giving us credit. You know, Robert Schuller took classes from Ernest Holmes. He took classes from Bill Hornaday, not Ernest Holmes. We still have people in the movement that sat in classrooms in LA next to Robert Schuller, learning science of mind. When John worked for Robert Schuller, he went into his office one day and there was a science of mind textbook on his bookshelf. Interesting, I heard Joel Osteen talk about it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And I thought, gosh, Gary Simmons wrote that in a book. You can minister. It's all about it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. So this stuff is percolating out. Like trickle-down economics, trickle-down spirituality, trickling down into the hearts and minds of people because we are ready to hear it. That life isn't stacked against us, that there is no outside power that wants to hurt us or keep us down, that there is only that one presence. In the beginning of the Bible, it says God created. God created out of what? Did God go down to the God Ace hardware store and get the heaven and earth pack, the Lego set, to create physical form? No. It was only spirit, and spirit could only create out of itself because that's all that there is. And how do you create out of yourself? If I'm going to create out of myself, I have to be that which I create. I become that. And so spirit being one creates everything and everyone out of itself by manifesting itself as it, as us. So there's no outside power because there is only that which we are, which is all of the power, all of the glory, all of the prosperity, all of the health and wholeness and miracles and magic, all of that stuff as us now. And when we can start looking at stories in the Bible, or I told you I'd teach you how to interpret anything, you can watch a movie. We just saw Star Wars. That is such an easy metaphysical interpretation. Star Wars. Let's interpret Star Wars. Okay, let's not. Let's move on. So we've got mountains are a symbol of a high state of consciousness. A house is a state of consciousness, and that's Carl Jung also.
Yeah.
Carl Jung says that the fireplace of a house is your heart. So if you have a dream of a house with a fire in the fireplace, it means that your heart is blazing with love. If you have a dream of a house with a fireplace and there's no fire in it, it tells you that you want to do some work on not your heart chakra and not your physical heart, but on that energy of love that is in your consciousness. And that's you know, Jungian psychology, archetypal imagery. So we've got houses are consciousness, any kind of light means illumination, whether it's a candle, whether it's the sun, whether it's the stars or the moon or whatever it is. You know, that's your idea of illumination. That's why Jesus said, don't put your light under a bushel. He wasn't talking about we go around holding a candle and put it under a bushel. He wasn't talking about that. It's not the outer meaning. It's the inner meaning, that light that you are, that illumined consciousness that you are. Let it shine. Let it shine out.
Can I have something?
Have we ever said no, Jane?
Okay, I just wanted, I was thinking of Lucifer, and that's light too, yet he was a devil, so how did that?
What is a devil?
Well, I just don't know.
Neither do I, other than he was second to the angels.
Oh, but he's fallen and everyone's supposed to be
We've all
fallen,
fallen.
right?
I would encourage Lucifer to get back up. I think Lucifer's gotten a bad rap. And this is allegory, this is parable, this is metaphor. So what would Lucifer mean in us? The great temptation, right? Pardon me, Brenda?
Our dark side.
Our dark side. Has anybody ever done any therapy? You deal a lot with your dark side, the shadow self.
And maybe we just fell out of consciousness for a while and need to come back.
We just fell out of consciousness for a while and need to come back. That's it. That's it. What was the joke at Easter? We need to give thanks to the person who made Easter possible, and that's Judas. But truly, if we don't have that, then we're not going through the cycle. And it's not no pain, no gain, but we all have our Judases, we all have our serpents, we all have our Lucifers, we all have that, but that doesn't mean that they are not a perfect manifestation of our consciousness as God. It doesn't mean that they're not God in form. It's got to be, otherwise we have God is all there is except for Lucifer, right? God is all there is except for Judas. God is all there is except for every snake in the world. And I'm not going to kill snakes because of the Bible. That's crazy. Just crazy stuff. So when we see these stories, we're going to say, first of all, everybody in the story is who?
Us.
You. You are everyone in the story. And then when you can see that everyone in the story is you, you can start looking at, how do I do that? What do I do? Because it's so easy to blame. Isn't it easy to blame? And as soon as we blame somebody else, we've lost it. Even in your life that's not a Bible story, if someone does something and you say, that happened to me because of them, or they're a bad person because they're doing that, then we've lost our power. If we can look at that and go, what is it in me that sabotages myself, that trips me up, that doesn't handle things the way that I want them to handle, doesn't keep my word, whatever that is. What is it in me that hurts? You know, how am I hurting myself? Because it's only me. So we're going to look at ourselves in all of these stories. Water tent, again, temporary. See tents? Things are changing. Stay tuned for next week. Egypt, Eden is bliss, within, without, above, below. That's just some of the ideas. Every reference in the Bible has to do with various stages of awareness within the individual. So as you're moving from one name to another, from one city to another, from one house to another, from one family to another, it's all evolution of consciousness. Great. So I thought tonight we would start off with the 10 Commandments. I just figured we ought to
Jump right in.
take more like this. Margot's getting some more. If you get extras from the back, bring them over here. And Margot's about to bring some more down. But I don't know about you, I was raised Methodist, which is a kinder, gentler Baptist. But still had plenty of threats. Plenty of, you better not do this, you better not do that, you better do this, you better do that, whether you want to or not, because God is watching you, and if you don't, there's gonna be literally hell to pay. So what I want us to do, I've just given you the basic commandments, and we'll read them, take them one at a time, and we'll play with them. We'll pick them apart. Did we run out before we got to the back of the table?
Yes. Yeah.
Margot is coming any second. Pardon me?
Give her time to get it all together.
Hey, Margot, start at the back of the room. Okay. So, let's look at the first one. You shall have no other gods. I think it was thou shalt have no other gods before me.
Yeah.
This one is you shall have no other gods except me. No other gods. Now the story is that the Hebrews were in the wilderness and they were going back to their old religion, which was to pour golden idols and pray to those idols to help them get out of the wilderness and find the promised land. And we have done that. We have been in the wilderness. We have not known how to get out. We've grasped at secondary causation. Oh, Barbara, treat for me to get this job so I can get out of the wilderness and get my life together. Oh, Barbara, treat for this person to like me so that I can feel good about myself and be happy again. And none of that works. So here they are pouring golden idols. I think this was when Charlton Heston, Moses came down from the whole 10 Commandments, the first time somebody tried to talk to God on a tablet. Came down after having this amazing spiritual experience and said, oh no, these people are praying to the little consciousness. They're grasping on the little consciousness. So the first thing, which really is the basic commandment, if you can get it clear, is to only have one connection with spirit. So, right here and right now, put your little hats on, your detective hats, metaphysical interpreters of the Bible, and let's start looking at what this might mean. What is it to have other gods?
Duality.
Duality. Who said that? B. Yes. Duality. No. When you move into duality, we all learned yesterday, you get cast out of the garden, and you've got to, eat by the sweat of your brow and labor in childbirth. I did that. I was not impressed. What else might this mean other than no duality?
Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself, Bill.
This might mean that you can get trapped by other things in the world, like mammon, wealth.
Sure. You're worshiping something that is not primal. Mm-hmm. So when we look at spirit, God, the divine, the one, at the absolute level of first cause, then that is our connection with the whole shebang, the whole universe and beyond, all of the power, all that spirit is inside of us. When we start looking at things in our world, golden idols, money, people, positions. I mean, have you ever lost your position? Have you ever gotten a divorce and just not known what was left of you? I remember I got kicked out of the Miami Church of Religious Science. I was all of 32 or 33, and I did it with a lot of drama. I was really good at that. But there was a year where I had no idea who I was. And so I had to go through that and find myself, because I was worshiping a false idol, which was, I'm Barbara Bonacorso. I'm 30 years old, minister of a 500-member church in Miami. I am hot stuff, and that's who I am. That's not who I am. I'm an amazing person, but that's not who I am. Bill?
Now, I was just saying that I always looked at the Ten Commandments as not really what God wanted me to do for him, but what he wanted for me to, in order to live my life well. These are the ways, like you say, people will come with an instruction manual. Yes, we do. The Ten Commandments is an instruction to you about living your life well.
Right, so let's translate it just a little bit, because you still have that God wants me. So understanding that there are certain ways we can be in consciousness, certain levels of consciousness that have us living a wonderful life. That idea of unity, that we are connected with all that there is, and that all that is us. So it's not a God and me. It could be God as me. That there is a way for me to live. There are some certain ideas that I can use to live my life, to be happy, to be prosperous, to be healthy, to be joy-filled. And that when I'm in that consciousness, my life works. Pardon me?
No separation.
No separation. So the first one, the first idea of the Ten Commandments is oneness. That there's only one. And that when we think there's two, and that we can get this or manipulate that or get rid of that, and we will somehow be impacted by that, usually we think it'll make things better, we've fallen into duality. The same way that if we think something can hurt us or take something away from us, we have fallen into duality. Ophia.
For me, a quick way that I translate this is by playing with pronouns. So the first one, I just changed the first word to I.
I shall have no other gods.
What does that mean?
I shall have no other gods except me.
And that's really when I started to doubt Satan.
I like it. Excuse me, excuse me.
That's when I started to doubt Satan. Because there is oneness, not a duality. In other words, it's not day so that I can appreciate night, or night so that I can appreciate day. It's that there is only that which is of God.
There's only God. There's only one. And the implications of that are far-reaching. Karen and then Ophia.
There's another verse in the Bible that says that nothing can separate us from the love of God, which is exactly when we're saying there are no other gods but me.
You are going to be a wonderful addition to this class. Good to have you back.
Thanks.
Ophia. Okay.
The duality with the God and Satan. Young, actually, I think it was Young, wrote the 7 sermons to, but in there he talks about how there's this level, and then it gets the level of God and the devil, but then above that there's Abraxas, which includes God and the devil. So that's kind of what I see as God.
There can't be anything outside of God, no matter what you call it, no matter what stories you've made up to frighten little children. Can't be. Okay, so are we good with this? The very first commandment is all about oneness. And in the same way that science of mind is first primary tenet is oneness, everything then gets built on that. Is everybody good with the first one?
Yes.
Good. Are you having fun?
Yes.
Good. Let's do the second one. You shall not make for yourself any graven images or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not worship nor serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a zealous, not jealous, a zealous God, visiting the offenses of the father upon their children, to the 3rd and 4th generations of those who hate me, and showing mercy to thousands of generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. Now, doesn't that sound awful? Yes. Let's pick that sucker apart. So what are graven images?
Materialism.
Materialism. What else?
Idols,
What is an idol?
something that's not God, that people pray to.
So what kinds of things do people pray to? What kinds of things do people worship?
Money.
They worship money. Karen,
We worship our husbands sometimes.
worship
Yeah.
And
your,
then if we get a divorce, then we're completely apart.
right, so you may worship a person
Yes.
or the approval you get from a person.
Exactly.
How many people know someone else, not you, that have, that have worshipped their problems?
Oh, yeah.
That have worshipped their stories?
Yeah.
Nobody knows the pain I'm going through. Nobody knows my sorrows.
Turn on the TV.
Yeah, so those are bowing down to graven images. Anything that's not oneness, which is love and light and joy and happiness, that's a graven image. If you get up in the morning and you go, oh crap, I'm late for work, you're worshiping time. The only way you can bend time is to not be affected by it. If you want to get from one point to another in less than a minute driving, you have to be very, very clear and pull your attention back from caring about the ticking of time. And then you can bend time. And I haven't learned to what's it called when you're in two places at once? Bilocate, yeah, but I can bend time. And you can't bend time if you're upset. You can't bend time if you're in a hurry. So if you're upset, you're worshiping a graven image. If you think, time, I'm late, I don't have enough time. I don't have enoughs, are worshiping graven images. I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough opportunity, this is not gonna work, those kinds of things. And what happens when you do this, so, or anything like this, anything that is heaven above, where would that be? This is not talking about heaven as a spiritual state, this is in the skies above. So that would be an uplifted consciousness. The birds are in the sky. Everything is a thought in the Bible, or a state of consciousness. So the thoughts in the higher state of consciousness, and we go, oh, well, I'm worshiping this, but I'm so spiritual with it. I'm worshiping my Deepak Chopra and Oprah 21 days of meditation, and I'm so spiritual now, but that's making me holy. No, it's a graven image. It's just in a higher consciousness, doesn't mean it's oneness. Or in the earth beneath, and where is that? A lower consciousness. David Mark. Could be, all graven images are effects, you're absolutely correct. So whether they're high spiritual effects, or whether they're low, whether they're in the lower level of consciousness, which would be the ground, and then he takes it even lower, which is the water under the earth. What is that? Subconscious. So if you have something that is your outside power, it's your outside God, it's a graven image, and even if it seems to be very spiritual, you're very holy, doesn't matter, it's a graven image. If it's a lower consciousness, like, oh my God, how am I going to pay the rent? The standard, mundane consciousness, it's a graven image. And even if you don't know you're doing it, if it's in the subjective realms, the subconscious of your mind, then you are still worshiping it. Why in the world do you keep picking people like that? I often say to people that I see over and over again. Why do you keep picking jobs like that? Why do you keep picking people like that? Why do you keep putting yourself in that situation? What is going on in your subconscious that is something that you're worshiping? And what you're worshiping is, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I'm going to lose. Things are going to be taken from me. I don't have what it takes. That's duality. And so he is saying that you don't even get a pass on your subconscious, that you don't consciously know you're thinking. Phil.
The question is really, what is symbology? Since we always use symbology in things, and does symbology mean the actual substance, or is in place of. In other words, to be very gross about this, we could talk about a crucifix, which is a symbol, or we could talk about God. And if you talk about God, you're praying to your God, your inner thing. But if you focus on the symbology of a crucified man, that's like missing the whole point.
I think it's sick. I just think the whole need for blood is not healthy. But we're not gonna talk about a lot of real subtle things. We're gonna stay with pretty much the over stuff. But if you think you need that crucifix, that car, that title of spirituality, you know, if you think you need to go somewhere and be ordained as a minister so that you can be okay inside of your skin, that's all worshiping idols. Because there is only oneness, and when we are living in the oneness, we are not worshiping idols. So it's whether it's a lofty, high spiritual idol, a regular mundane idol, or an unconscious idol that you don't even know is going on. God is a zealous God. Zealous is enthusiasm and engaged, whereas jealous is intolerant of rivalry. So God is very enthusiastic about this. Visiting the offenses of the fathers, that's us, upon their children, that's our thoughts, to the third and fourth generation. What does that mean? Isn't that just awful that children should be born into this world and have to pay for the sins of their great-grandparents? It's ridiculous. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. What does it mean?
Does it mean negative thoughts beget more negative thoughts?
Negative thoughts beget more negative thoughts, yes. And that's not being done to us. That's what happens when we give our power away, when we disconnect, when we live in duality, and we start obsessing about things. Then we think, and the thought creates another thought, and creates another thought, and creates another thought, probably for 40 years, some undetermined but complete period of time, until we decide to get out of it.
Barbara, that's why we have sleeping pills, because we can't get it off our mind at night.
That's why you have sleeping pills. Now notice that the offenses to the children for those who hate are third and fourth generation. Seems like a long time until you get to the rest of the sentence. And showing mercy to thousands of generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. Now what does that mean?
It's fixable.
It's fixable. And when you are in alignment with oneness and love, that's going to carry you through the thoughts begatting thoughts for thousands of generations. Because that is truth, that is your true nature, and it's easier to stay in alignment with love than it is with hate. Right?
Right.
So doesn't that take it from there's this awful being out there that's just set out to screw me over, to, whoa, these are ways that I can live, that I can make my life better. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's take a break. Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome back. Welcome back. So we have completed the first two commandments, and I only have one person who's having trouble breathing and having a lot of stuff come up. How are we doing with this? Is this stimulating things for you?
Yes.
Jim?
I know, right?
Well, it's so early in the class and I'm already so angry because
Jen's angry.
because so many Christian churches, and hopefully they're not still doing this, but they used to give the message that people who were to say were paying for the sins of their fathers.
That's horrible.
It's just.
That some kind of a differently abled experience is a punishment. Well, it's the same thing as karma. You know, it's the same thing as the untouchables in India, that you are you have a certain type of life because of generations before you. Somebody screwed up 100 years ago and now you're the one paying the price. That's absurd. You are perfect, whole, and complete. You are all that God is.
Or children born
Who said what?
I just said, or children born, you know, and out of a union that is not a legally married.
Well, the whole thing is
I
ridiculous.
know, I mean, just the name bastards and.
Children born out of wedlock, or children, babies who have not yet been christened or baptized, that pass, and they can't go to heaven. That's absurd. It's like such a sick mindset that is for the purpose of controlling the masses. That's all that it is for.
Yeah.
And it's absurd. So consider yourself changers of consciousness, way showers, light bearers, to bring a kinder and more gentler humanity into consciousness. Bill.
Karma works if you believe it. If you think you deserve what you're going to get.
You can change your
You
karma
get
at
it.
any moment.
As
Yeah.
you say so often, if you name it, you'll claim it.
Right. Right. Sandy.
I always thought that children knew more than we did because they haven't been on this plane long enough to have knowledge.
None of this stuff is real.
Yeah.
Children that go to purgatory, people who are punished physically or emotionally, or, you know, your husband left you or your wife left you because you are this kind of a person, or God forbid you should lay with another man or with another woman. You know, it's just absurd. Jesus hung out with 12 disciples. Think of that. Really? All men. Because there's nothing wrong with that. Even though they say Mary was one of the 12. You love who you love. If God is all there is, and God is love, then how can anything be wrong with love? It can't. So all of that is a crock. And I give you permission to throw it all out and make it up any way you want.
Oh, yeah, no, it wasn't affecting me, it's just.
You're pissed. I know, but you just got kicked out of the garden. Isn't that an easy way to process it? Whoops, I just fell from the garden. I guess I'll get back in there and have some fruits. Okay, the third command, is everybody else okay? Are we okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Brenda.
Wasn't that the Woodstock song, we got to get ourselves back to the garden?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Yeah, that was Johnny Mitchell. That was Johnny Mitchell.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash recorded it.
That's the last song, I just thought about that, that's the one with.
Maybe we should have David play it.
Yes,
Since we're on
absolutely.
a hippie kick.
That's right.
Okay, number 3, you shall not take a false oath in the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not declare him innocent who takes an oath in his name falsely. What the heck is that talking? What is name? You should not take a false oath in the name of the Lord your God. What is name?
Nature.
Nature. So what would taking a false oath in the nature of spirit be? Jennifer. Having a negative thought, really, really believing it, committing yourself to it. Okay, see? Just relax, everybody. It's going to be okay. For the Lord, another word for Lord is law. The law, spiritual law, takes what you give it and does what?
Gives it back to you.
gives it back to you how?
Exactly as you put it up.
Where?
In this one.
Manifests it. Spiritual law takes what you put in it and shows up as it. Manifests it. The law will not declare you innocent who takes an oath in his name falsely. So how can you set spiritual law in motion with a limiting negative thought and word and act, and then say, oh no man, I'm innocent? And spiritual law goes, okay, right, you don't have to experience the effect of your causes. You don't have to outpicture your thought forms. You can be innocent. He's saying that's not possible. It is not possible. If you move into the nature of the law and you put something in there that is false, it's duality, it's not oneness, it's two-ness, then you're going to experience the effect of that cause. You can't get away from it, but it is not a person on a cloud that's doing that to you. Who is doing it to you? We are. And if we're doing it, who can undo it?
Me.
We can. Bill.
Does that include a sitting president?
Bill, if you do not learn how to love Donald Trump, you are missing a great gift. And those people who think they can walk the spiritual path and hate them are sadly misgiven. You must love. And geez, Donald Trump is just going to the spiritual gym, picking up some weights. Okay. Guy, what was Mother Teresa said, oh no, you're a conservative, I'm not going to take care of you on the streets of Calcutta? No. No. You have to, and I don't say this jokingly, you pay a price for not loving. And somehow the spiritual community has taken it upon themselves to give themselves permission to fall out of oneness and love and into duality and hatred. And they think that because it's Donald Trump, it's okay. I want to tell you, it is not okay. It'll make you sick, it'll make you poor, it'll wreck your relationships, and it will kill you. And I'm not saying that metaphorically. Breezy and then Miriam.
But does that mean?
What?
Support?
No, you don't have to support him. To love your mother, does that mean you have to support her or ever even talk to her? No, but you have to love her.
Okay.
You have to love him. Miriam.
Love and compassion, same?
Sure. Sure. Wouldn't you, of all the people who need a little compassion, wouldn't you think Donald Trump is one? He's playing with the big guns. He's got the button. We want to put all the love and support and compassion that we can. We surround that man with love. Light and love and wisdom and clarity and intelligence.
He has to be open to accept it though.
No, he doesn't. You're the practitioner, Betty. Betty, your client does not have to be open to squat for you to demonstrate in their life. You can change the world. You want to change the world? Love Donald Trump. I'm not kidding. Pegatha.
Well, I was gonna ask because, you were talking about, I think I just lost the thought. Never mind.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about number 3?
Yes.
So is this the same commandment that you shall not take the name of in vain?
Yeah.
So instead of false oath, but in vain.
Oh, is that what this is?
Yeah, that's what this is.
I took it from a more modern
Translation, yeah.
I was gonna ask Karen, but you know.
I would tell you.
Karen is our resident Methodist minister. So thank you for being.
Well, my dad is one. I'm just one removed. Okay.
Can I just say something here too, because it may not be pointed, it might be, I don't know, for someone, but Louise Hay had this wonderful thing that she said years ago where if you manifest something and you don't like it, just change it.
Yeah. If you created it, just uncreate it.
Yeah, just uncreate it and make it what you want. Like if you asked for a guy that was tall and the guy you ended up with is short, just change it because you were probably thinking for a short guy instead of a tall guy. Yeah, just change it.
control of your life,
Exactly.
then you can do anything.
Yes.
Not to blame. As soon as you blame yourself, you've locked into it.
Exactly.
Oh, I can't believe I created it. Oh, my consciousness is awful. No. You created it. You can create anything else. But if there's some guy up on a cloud telling you what your life is going to be like, then you can't do anything.
Exactly.
So be the one who created it to begin with, and then empower yourself to change it into something else. Yeah. Pegatha.
It seems to me in our last class that we learned something about you should not treat for other people if you don't have their permission, or you can't send love and light. And yet we were just talking about surrounding Donald Trump with love. So
I know inside of my own consciousness that he is divinely guided. He is guided. He grew up in Norman Vincent Peale's church.
Yeah.
He prays before every cabinet meeting. I mean, the guy is not Satan. So I know that he's divinely guided and directed. Love is all around him, and that's in my consciousness. And I know that our country is safe. I know that all of the countries in the world are manifestations of spirit living in harmony with each other, that everybody on the planet has more than enough food to eat, clean water to drink, safety for themselves and their children. And that's something you can just know for the entire planet. We sing "Let There Be Peace on Earth" every Sunday.
And Love Train, we sing it.
Right, right. So you can do that, and you're not treating that he makes a deal with North Korea, or he backs off the deal with North Korea, or stops trade sanctions with China. You're not specifying that. You're just knowing that he is an individualization of spirit made manifest on planet Earth, just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. Yes. You can do that for anybody. We have the line of Mama goes over us, Mountain Area Health Ambulance, Hospital Ambulance. And every time it flies over, I just know there's love and light. They have everything that they need to do whatever it is they choose to do. I'm not saying, oh, I know that they live and that their bones are mended and their organs are back in place. I don't know any of that. That's not my business. But I can always know that they have everything that they need, that all is well. And I like to visualize light because I like the way it looks, and I like the feeling of love. But truly everything is known inside of yourself. You're not sending it to anybody. So, number 4, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shall you, that's a shall, not shy, shall you labor and do all your work. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. In it you shall not do any work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your cattle. How did the cattle not work? Nor the sojourner who dwells in your town. Geez, I typed terrible. For 6 days, I don't know what that says. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the seas and all things that are made in them, and rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and sanctified it. So, let's take a deep breath. What is 6? Work. For everything there is a time, a season. So 6 is a period, a cycle of work. It doesn't mean 6 days on planet Earth where the sun goes up and the sun goes down. But on the 7th day, what is 7? There's got to be a completion to your work, right? If you don't have a completion to your work, then you are what's called burned out. So what does it mean when you keep something holy?
Take care of it.
You take care of it.
Respect.
You respect.
You give yourself time to deal with your own emotions, with your own feelings. You meditate. You
So you
begin to
may have some
understand
spiritual practice. You may come to Center for Spiritual Living Asheville, or watch us online. You may do that. You're staying in alignment with oneness, with love, with your connection to all that is. Now you may have periods of work that go for long periods of time, and your Sabbath may be really quick. I think this is talking about balance. living in balance. Not working yourself to death, because when you work yourself to death, pretty soon you're going to be bowing down to false idols. And we've seen what happens to that. Your good is not contingent upon what you do. I'll say that again.
Yes.
Your value, your good is not contingent upon what you do. You are valuable in and of yourself, regardless of what's being done. So bring your life into balance. Now, what is a family? Hold on. What is a family?
Community.
What are children? Thoughts. So what's a family?
A bunch of them.
A bunch of thoughts. A big amount of thoughts. You've got the male for the manservant. What would that be?
Your masculine side?
Your masculine side. I'll come back to that in a minute. And your female, the maidservant, would be what?
Nurturing.
The feminine side. So feelings of female is more about feelings and the subjective nature. The male is more about conscious thought and the objective aspect of you. So they're saying in your thoughts, in your feelings, you need to bring this rest time into a state of holiness, whatever that means. I've had very holy experiences eating chocolate. The beasts, now we haven't talked about animals yet, but think about it. What would animals symbolize? No, children are thoughts.
I like that though, what, like children, animals.
You're a pack of animals. Animals, beasts, animal consciousness, primal, instinct, good. Those parts of you that are more animalistic might be sexual. Although I think Sunday's a great day for sex. Any day. What's Sherry?
Worldly?
Worldly. The worldly aspect of you. And then the sojourner. That's the person traveling through your grounds. Now, grounds would be a place, and it would mean that it is a consciousness. Let's say your house and your lands are your consciousness, and you have someone traveling through. You have a traveler, a sojourner. What would that be?
Wandering
Thoughts.
Yeah,
Could be a stray thought, or it could be what? Brand new thoughts. It could be ideas coming from afar, or it could be just a stray thought that's ricocheting through the synaptic transmissions of your brain. So what they're doing is they're trying to say all of you need to be in balance. Your objective thought, your subjective feeling nature, your masculine side, your feminine side, your more sensual side, and the stray random thoughts that are popping through your head. All of that comes into balance in your Sabbath, whenever your Sabbath is. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the seas, all things that are made in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord, the law, blessed the Sabbath day and sanctified it. So when you bring all of your thoughts and consciousness into a state of balance, and you bring it in as holy, you lift it into high spiritual awareness, you are blessed. And that is a commandment. Boy, doesn't that sound different? Mm-hmm. Very different.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
No. Catch me while I'm talking. Okay, number 5. Number 5, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long on the land which the Lord your God gives you. What does that mean? First of all, Jen wanted us to know it is the law that is giving us our land, and our land is what? Consciousness. Our consciousness. So what are we honoring so that our consciousness is long? We're honoring our Father, which is what? No. Our masculine side. And we're honoring our mother, which is the feminine side. And our days, day has the sun, so what's a part of a day?
Light.
Light, and what does light mean? Illumination, so that our illumination will be for a really long time. When we are in balance, again, it's about balance. Don't shut off your feminine side. Don't shut off your masculine side. Embrace all of you, and you will be able to live in illumination for a long time. I think it's great. Okay, we'll move it along here. Now, we've done half of them, and the first 5 all have one kind of a theme, and the second 5 have another kind. The first 5 are about the inside, and the second 5 are about the outside. And we start off with, thou shalt not kill. Stop killing. What kinds of things do you kill?
Other people's joy.
You kill other people's joy, you kill your own joy. What do you kill?
First, I really have a question, whether this word should be killed or murder.
I don't care.
Whether we're translating it correctly.
We're not. We are not translating this. This is over 360 translations just to get to the King James Version. Yeah, think about it. And many of these, for a couple of hundred years, it was before they were ever written down. So we are not translating this correctly. We are interpreting it for ourselves. So what do you murder? What do you kill?
Your own kill.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, you do. What do you kill? Jennifer.
Anything you judge.
Anything you judge, you kill. What else?
Your own spirit.
Your own spirit. What else do you kill?
Your own dream.
Enthusiasm. Your own dream.
Anger.
Well, killing anger may not be so bad, but you probably get anger from killing things. Yeah. Bill.
I just wanted to say we all kill to eat. In other words, we eat things that were alive. We terminated a living creature's life to eat. And that's why I said murder, because murder is very different than killing.
But again, we're looking at the inner meaning. The outer meaning is you shouldn't eat meat. You should only murder broccoli plants and carrots. You know, that's the outer meaning. The inner meaning, or I've known people that will only eat fruit that has already dropped from a tree.
Yeah, and nuts and fruit and seeds, yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what we do to take the life out of things, usually inside of ourselves. And what this commandment is doing, very simply, I love the brevity of it, stop it. Quickly.
With all the last 5, I actually feel like it's almost like saying it's impossible. Like if
What's impossible?
Like if I am all there is, God is all there is, if it's all me, I can't kill me. Like I can't in the big picture. Like yes, I can kill this person or whatever, but I can't kill me.
No, you
I
can
can't
kill your
steal.
joy.
Right, I can't steal unless it's from me. I can't
Yeah.
kill unless it's
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. You shall not commit adultery. This has nothing to do with sex with somebody else. It has nothing to do with that. What is adultery?
Betrayal.
Pardon me?
Betrayal.
Betraying, lying, making it in the outer meaning of a marriage, and you're sleeping with your neighbor, you have made impure your marriage. You brought an element of betrayal in there, of impurity. So where do you bring betrayal and impurity into your own marriage? What would be the marriage inside of you?
What about envy
Your
and
thought
jealousy?
process.
You haven't gotten there, you're just jealous of that.
What?
I was talking about that as a
Oh.
thing for adultery.
I'm confused.
To me, it would represent an internal thing of you're envious of what somebody else has, or you're jealous of what somebody else has, as opposed to,
I've not seen adultery that way,
okay.
because you're not wishing you had something, you're having something.
Yeah,
Somebody else may be jealous of you,
yeah.
but I don't think you're the envy and the jealous part. Let's go back.
You're not faithful to yourself.
You're not faithful to yourself. What is the marriage inside of you then? What would that be?
That would be,
Wholeness.
yes, joy, everything that I am, my consciousness.
Yes, so inside of you, whatever your holy bond is, don't betray that or bring, now remember, people are thoughts, so don't bring impure thoughts into that state of consciousness. RJ,
I was just gonna, having integrity in my mind.
to yourself, because I don't care who you sleep with. I think I've been clear about that.
So,
Take it back.
it's kind of like when you're treating for yourself, and say for me, I'm treating for my health and everything, and then doubts start coming in, and all of a sudden I'm more worried about the doctor being right than me being right. That's not having faith in myself. That's
Right,
having
so
a-
your sacred, sacred bond of marriage to yourself, your faith and your trust in who you are and spirit in you gets adulterated by bringing in thoughts, the neighbor's wife, that says, no, that's not true, that's not real, this sacred consciousness that I have is not valid.
Right.
Great, and again, so simple, don't do that. You shall not steal, thou shalt not steal. What's up with that? Jennifer?
Well, I would say that it says to not see yourself as being without.
Right, right. Anybody who steals comes from a belief that they have not gotten theirs, that they are due,
They don't have enough.
that they don't have enough. Lack and limitation. What things do you steal?
Time.
Time,
Ideas.
ideas.
Emotion.
How do you steal emotions?
I kind of steal from myself, you know.
I'll tell you how you steal emotions. Anybody have a box of tissues?
I have a little bag of them.
Somebody's crying and you shove a tissue at them.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is your crying is making me very uncomfortable. Would you dry your eyes and close your nose and stop it? That's what you say when you give a tissue to somebody. Leave them alone. It's their snot. Leave them alone.
I remember when something really bad happened to me and I started crying at work and my boss came out and said, you need to stop crying about that because I'm gonna fire you if I see you act like that again.
So he stole your emotions.
He stole my emotions and it took me a long time to actually be able to release that because I needed to release it at the time.
Well, understand that he has hell to pay.
Exactly.
Because he has those tears. If you find yourself actually stealing, please, whatever it is not worth it. It is not worth it. Whether it's a pen, whether it's Troy's phone, wherever that is, whether it's a jacket, because you're cold and there's one in the closet,
Or an idea.
or an idea, or whatever. It's not worth it. You pay that price because you have set spiritual law in motion with ideas of lack and not enough, and you enforced it with action. And instead of going up to the mountaintop, you are going down to the pits where there is wailing and gnashing of teeth. So whatever it is, doesn't matter if anybody's looking, doesn't matter if you think it's important or not, don't do it because you are setting spiritual law in motion and you will live the effects of that cause. It's not moral. It's spiritual. It is cause and effect. You're creating your experience. One more. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. What does that mean?
Don't gossip.
Don't gossip. Thank you, Judy Lee.
What?
Don't gossip.
Yeah.
What else? Betty?
Don't judge.
Don't judge. You get thrown out of the garden. You don't even know what happened. You move into just a fraction of a second of a thought of judgment and boom, your butt hits the ground.
You don't lie about other people.
Don't lie about other people. Really. And if other people lie about you, let it go. People lie about me. They tell people things. And I can't say anything because often the conversation has happened in confidence. And so I know confidentiality is a weird thing with me. You come to see me, and then you go out and say I said things that I didn't say, and I can't say a word. So my choice then is to get very upset inside of myself and kick myself out of the garden, or just let it go. And know that it doesn't matter, because the only thing that matters about what I think about what is being thought or said about me is what I think and say about me. So nobody is worth getting kicked out of the garden. Nobody is worth your upset that you use to justify criticizing and condemning other people. It's not worth it. You're the only one that's worth it, because there's only one, and you are all of it. Somebody had their hand up.
Yeah.
RJ.
And do not blame me because I make everything happen in my life.
Right, right. And remember, blame comes right after shame. So if you're in shame, you kick yourself out of the garden. And now you're blaming. That's a good way to know what happened, is you're blaming. Oh, why am I blaming? What are these fig leaves? Hold on, Susan. You had your hand up and I said, give me a minute?
I did not.
Did anybody over here have their hand up over the end of number 8? Okay.
Blaming is lying.
Well, it is, because nobody makes you do anything, nobody hurts you, nobody takes anything from you.
That's right.
Right, right. Hold on one second, Bill. Let's finish number 10. You shall not covet. What is covet? Want as if you don't have it. Right?
Right.
Your. Do you have judgment in there?
You could.
But do you? This is about you.
No, I don't.
Then no.
Okay.
Do not covet your neighbor's house. Oh, if I could only be spiritual like them. If I could only demonstrate money like them. If I could only create that physical healing like them. You are coveting your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, which would be what? Feminine side. The feminine side, which would be, oh, I just love the way John gets up on stage and cries. I wish I could cry like that. I wish I could be so comfortable inside of my skin. No, you are coveting your neighbor's wife. Nor his manservant, which is what? Nor his maidservant, back to the feminine. Nor his ox, nor his ass. Nor anything that is your neighbor's.
Can we appreciate it?
Appreciating is not coveting. Remember, judging is not discernment. Discernment is not judging. Do you have something to say, Dee?
Oh, no, that's just my word.
You're just holding your hand up.
Yeah, discernment is my word.
Discernment has no emotional charge. Oh, look at that. Christy used to say, huh. That's it. That's all the emotion you get. Huh. But when you covet it, when you want to stop being you and start being someone else, not realizing that everything in your world is a demonstration of your consciousness and who you are. When you say, boy, they have a better consciousness and I wish I had their stuff, you're going down the tubes. Because the only one that you ever will have is you. You will never be anybody else. You'll never have anyone else's consciousness. You'll never have anybody else's stuff. Only you. So stop looking on the outside and wishing you were somebody else, and look within and create the things that you want in life, the life that you want. Because everything is already inside of us. Right here and right now. We've got it all. The cards are stacked in our favor. Because we are the deck. We are the dealer. We're it. So if you can look at these as guidelines to experience a better life, then you have an opportunity to experience a better life. Hold on, Judy Lee. I told Bill I'd come back to him.
So I was just looking at this, and in the opposite, you know, you see people sometimes testify in court about something. Later on, we find out the evidence doesn't support them, and in fact, the wrong person may end up in jail. And the DNA has proven that many times that we have incarcerated the wrong person. And therefore, anything beyond incarceration is unthinkable to me.
I'm not sure what this has to do with anything.
I'm not sure
To bear
that
false
we-
witness.
To bear false
Person
witness.
bears
But
false
the thing
witness
is,
against
Bill,
their
is that studies have shown that you can have 4 witnesses to the same accident, and they have 4 different stories. They're not bearing false witness. We don't have good memories. One person swears it's a red car, one person swears it's a white truck. One person swears they came from the east, one swears they came from the north.
Well, can I just tell you something that happened? When I went to law school, they had the door slam open in the middle of the lecture, and the professor was shot 4 times, down on the floor, I mean everything. And then he gets up and he yells at all of us, write it down.
And you
Don't
came
talk
up with
about it,
different
write
things.
it down.
Yeah.
Do you know that in about 120 students with their glasses on, in bright light, could not agree if it was a man or a woman, if it was
Well,
black
Bill,
or a
that's not
white
bearing
person,
false witness.
or
Bearing false
anything,
witness is
almost
intentional.
anything else. The only thing they could agree on, thickest gun they ever saw.
Bearing false witness is intentional, and you do not want to intentionally demean or defame anybody. Hold on, Brenda, I'm up to Judy Lee, and then Brenda, and then we're gonna close.
I had a conversation with that supreme being one time, asking what this whole, 10 Commandments thing was all about. And the being said, it's about building walls. That you're building walls inside yourself where you wall yourself off from your good, your blessings, your feelings. And it really was, I mean, as I looked at killing and stealing and those sorts of things, there's no way I can feel good about me when I'm in the middle of
So it's
experiencing
about
those.
taking down walls.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
good, thank you for that.
Not Trumpian walls, but walls
Brenda.
that.
Out of the garden you just finished.
This has to do with coveting. It's something that you said many years ago that I wasn't doing, but once you said it, I have been doing, is if you see something that you want, instead of, why don't I have that? You just said.
That's for me.
Like that's mine.
That's for me.
And that totally works.
Yeah, that's for me.
That's mine. And there's no jealousy, no covetousness, it's just,
Right.
that's mine,
Having the opportunity to go down to Miami so often, there's so much money down there. There is a Lamborghini dealership, a dealership. And there's, we will count how many Rolls Royces we see in a day. And one of the nice things about that is I've gotten to where I don't want a Rolls Royce. I've already had a Mercedes and a Cadillac. I don't want those anymore. And so that's not for me. I don't want the car with the side goes like that. That's cool, but I don't want that. And by giving myself permission to have all of that, I can really be more honest inside of myself and say, I'm really happy with my Chevy. I'm really happy with my life. I'm really happy being with you. You're not getting rid of us anytime soon. And these are the things that I want. And I get to have what I want. And if I wanted something different, when I was 35, I had a Mercedes, you know, very nice. So I have what I want what I have, it's balance. Wonderful, we've had a good time. We're gonna do a little bit more of this next week, but we'll be in Stories with People, and take out what you're gonna get. And what I know is that God is the source of all supply. What I know is that we are one with the infinite, limitless, unbounded prosperity of all that is. Prosperity of health, prosperity of joy, prosperity of love, prosperity of success. That is who we are created out of it. And I know this night as we come together and give this gift, that we are setting spiritual law in motion. And as we set spiritual law in motion with our thoughts of abundance and joy and love, then that is returned to us for thousands of generations. And we are grateful for all of this abundance, for all of this joy, for all of this time to share, for the ability to grow. And with great gratitude for all that comes to this center, knowing that each one of us comes to make this center for spiritual living Asheville a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom. We release this into all that God is, knowing that God is all. As together we say, and so it is. Just feel it grow. Prosperity and abundance in the Bible is a given. And I know everything in these baskets is blessed. Because every time we give anything, that which we are goes with our gift. There is only one. And so we had something and we put it out into a basket, but there is no separation. So I see it as golden light, because I like gold and I like light. I see it as golden light pouring forth from each of us, filling up this room from the floor to the ceiling, and then all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with God as us, touching us, blessing us, healing us, right here and right now. Touching, blessing, and healing this center, going out around the world to awaken the consciousness of humanity to who we truly are, always here and always now. Touching every one of us here tonight, everyone who has ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. Love you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.